It has been 70. Okay, good start. It has been 70 days since Chris last begged for money. It has been 353 days since Chris last uploaded pages to meet his paid obligations to the Sonichu comic. That's almost a year. It has been 4,013 days since Chris last applied for a job. Barb is not dead. We last heard from her 16 days ago. Welcome to the Chris Chan Weekly Update. I am your tour guide, GiBi, and we first start out on Chris's Twitter. Chris has tweeted... Well, it's... yeah, I don't know. Let's just use this handy button here. Listen, everyone in the world. Chris Chen San Chao is our goddess and savior. When we coexist in the same merged dimension with all fictional and original characters, she will deal with the remaining mistakes. Obviously, this was put through Google Translate. I'm gonna guess that mistakes should say problems. Like, Chris is gonna deal with all the problems that will come from having a merged dimension with fictional characters. So, wait, what was that, Korean? Okay, so this is Japanese. That might be Chinese, I don't know. Listen carefully, to everyone in the world. Christian Sonichu is our goddess and savior. She will correct the rest of the mistakes as we coexist with all the fictional characters in the same merged dimensions as the original characters. That seems to be the exact same message. Yes, it is. So he's just translating this into various messages, and it's coming out slightly different, because he's using Google Translate. Oh, yeah, so of course the only important languages are Chinese, Japanese, and Spanish. Listen well, everyone around the world. Christian Sonichu is our goddess and savior. She goes to the right of the remaining errors as we coexist in the same dimension combined with all the original and fictional characters. How come the Japanese one was more correct than the Spanish one? That's weird. And then, of course, our goddess hears and speaks all languages. Because, using Google Translate is definitely evidence of Chris speaking and hearing all languages. If he really wanted to prove that, he could speak other languages on the live stream or something, or just really in any video. Whoever this person is, Casperina2 drew some Sonichu fan art. Chris responded, super cute, and you even got Patty. Bonus awesomeness. At least I think that's Patty. Looks like her. But the tail is off, so please correct me if I'm mistaken. Yeah, you genuinely left it a single minute before criticizing someone else's artwork. I'm impressed. That's some serious development you've made. Yeah, this is obviously supposed to be Patty, because she has the same staff and doggo ears. Count Dankula and his wife are pregnant, and Chris says, congratulations. This is the big and also only final story on Twitter for this week. It's a slow week. You might remember the Chris Chan versus the Internet trailer. This was when a documentarian film student wanted to make a documentary about Chris Chan. So he went, he paid Chris, he filmed a bunch of stuff with Chris, he even got an interview from Megan, and then he put up a Kickstarter, and he was asking for, I think it was like something around $20,000, and that money was going to pay for equipment and editing and submitting it to film festivals. And that number is reasonable for this kind of project. Unfortunately, to the Chris Chan community, mostly the Kiwi Farms people, they didn't see it as that. They saw it as someone trying to profit off of Chris Chan. You know, if Gino Samuel can just for free put up some videos and make money off it, why can't this guy do it? And obviously it's because this guy actually went and talked to Chris and did some new interviews and got some nice footage. So he unfortunately had to cancel his project even though he had all the footage, just because, one, he couldn't afford it, and two, he was being harassed. So that was just a horrible, horrible situation, and I'm very sad that it went down like that. So here Chris is finally posting about it. Hey, I found this on YouTube last night. I, Sonichu, and, on behalf of Mama Chris Chan herself, I simply cannot say enough loving and good things about this, and it was only the trailer of the documentary that should have been in this timeline. The fact that Chris Chan versus the Internet was cancelled because of the rage and from the bunch of haters amongst the internet trolls, and then some, calling the project fake and a scam. Let me make it clear, this was not a scam at all. This was legitimate, because there were genuine contracts and business contacts and everything. Mama took lots of loving and down-to-earth time out of her schedule to simply be pure and herself for all of you, because she is not totally about the shouting videos or any of the NSFW. She was a fragile individual who had to suffer and endure a whole bunch of unrequited circumstances in her life, partially due to a lot of the trolls, and especially the haters. She told you all time and again that she was not a monster. She would have gladly talked more and praised the project and the Kickstarter as it was happening, but in the contract she signed, she was not allowed to talk about the movie for a month to a year, and the filmmaker was trying to avoid the harsh feedback in risk of the project becoming cancelled because of it. So that's interesting, that's new information. Chris is saying he wasn't allowed to talk about it at the time because the filmmaker was scared that Chris promoting the movie would make people dislike it. His reasons and fears were obviously confirmed, and this genuine documentary would have been like the holy grail of all Chris Chan documentaries, because it was genuine. Even trumping Geno Samuel's series. Easy. And bonus, it literally had an interview with Megan Schroeder herself, and yes, that was her voice and her back in the trailer. You all could have had this genuine and heartfelt gem, but you've had to shoot yourself in the freaking feet by spamming hatred like a bunch of beheaded chickens or World War Z zombies. You all literally have no one to blame but yourselves. But sure, blame someone else, entirely, by, yet again, spamming your fetish-level hatred like crazed lunatics all over again. Hey, haters and trolls. 2007 called. They want their encyclopedia of drama back. And yes, I am making the reference. Enjoy your dysfunctional lifestyles, haters and bad trolls. As much pity and empathy as I feel for you lot, because your lives are a worse than anyone else's in this dimension. Your time is about up in this timeline. Here is a constructive idea for you all, and everyone in general, as it is common sense. Instead of fetishizing your hatred upon others, fetish in counting your blessing. Oh my god. Fetish in counting your blessings that you have had around you that you've overlooked all of this time. I guarantee you have more than 10 blessings. Get your heads out of your monitors, phones, cigarettes, drugs, and look around for yourselves. And Chris blocked anyone from commenting on this thread. Guys, don't you know that you should fetishize your blessings? September 8th, we have the follow-up to Chris's next Discord Q&A. Dear Christine, if you could have had Sonichu appear in any Sonic game, what game would you choose? Chris responds, that one I definitely answer with no problem. In her favorite classic Sonic game of all time, Sonic CD. And seriously, I would love it if someone did a fan animation version of the opening and ending animations with me and Rosie. Him, when he says me, he means Sonichu. Complete with the Sonic Boom tracks. Full versions of the videos, not the short versions that came in the original Sega CD disc. And made into DLC for all platforms, including PC. Yeah, just make a game for me, guys. It's fine. And that DLC should be online for all platforms for Sonic Generations, Forces, and Mania as well. Quick to install and ready to go. Mama tried to install the mod she downloaded for me in Generations, but it was too difficult for her to figure out at the time, the hard way. Who is Perceptor Sonichu, and what is their role? Are they part of the Chaotic Combo? So Perceptor Sonichu is one of the Idea Guy's creations. According to the Quickie, it says that they were made to convince Chris that Nazis were invading Cwcville. Perceptor is one of the intelligents of our local group. She is the most intelligent, almost an equal with Magi-chan, but she's not psychic. She is a shiny Sonichu, and one of the specials with the most direct link to the Chaos Energy from the Rainbow of 2003. We call on her for more intelligence, analysis, and insight. If there was one thing you'd like to change most about the Sonichu series, what would it be and why? Speaking for Mama from her memories and experience, essentially, to change even one thing in the books she has drawn and written over the past years, not counting additional details that were originally left out, like Dr. Ren Skysoar working with Giovanni and Eggman in Book 1 for example, is to literally change and alter history in C-197, which would literally alter and change our present in both C-197 and 1218 in this timeline. But, if she did have the choice to choose without any negative repercussions or consequences upon our present and future, she would want to remove every anti-LGBT depiction and statement she had ever written and portrayed. I don't understand how Chris can both not be able to coherently write a sentence and also throw in all these synonyms. But yeah, not negatively choice to choose all the repercussions and consequences. Definitely need to write all that. How do all variations of Sonic exist in C-197? Do they get along with each other? Okay, so I've talked about this in previous videos. I want to see what Chris says. In C197, there exists our one and only OG Sonic the Hedgehog, and he has the combination of powers and abilities of all the other Alt Dimension and Timeline Sonics. That's exactly what I said. It's if you understand platonic forms, then what Chris believes is that in C197 exists the platonic form of every fictional character. So this Sonic that's in C197 isn't actually the Sonic from any one canon of Sonic. It is a character that all of those canons pull from. It's like a fictional platonic form. He's mainly the present-day video game modern one in physical appearance, and he's not going to have blue arms ever. So yeah, he has access to the abilities of the Archie comic Sonic, IDW Sonic, and just about every other Sonic ever chronicled in this dimension. But in how they get along together, your answer to that can be read amongst the Archie comics. Dear Christine, many consider you an interesting person. As such, what do you feel is the most interesting thing about you that you love and would never change? Interesting about Mama? In my humble opinion, what is not interesting about her? But seriously, speaking on her behalf, she would never change her eyes and their heterochromia colors to blue to the left and green to the right, and all of the other OG special traits and abilities they have. Chris's most beloved thing about himself is that his eyes are slightly different colors. Chris, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Funny, she used to be unable to see herself in a far ahead time of the future. Ask her that question, she'd draw a blank. But now, definitely, in 10 years, in 50 years, in 100 years, in 1,000 years, in 1,000,000 years, into infinity, she'd still be alive, kickin', all goddess overpowered, defending Cwcville, helping everyone else, protecting the Earth, and having visited as many other alt dimensions of interest and as needed of her presence and help in putting them back in balance. Because remember guys, Chris thinks he's immortal now. Would you say that Cwcville is a good place to live? Charlottesville, Virginia, in general, is mostly a safe and good place to reside in, commute, and be in. See, why does he need to say the same thing 3 times? With all of its lustrous and expansive history and kind peoples in it, it still has its flaws, of course, but don't let that deter you. What have you been doing during quarantine? I, Sonichu, can definitely answer that question, personally, since the quarantine time pretty much really started after Mama and I swapped bodies on March 31st. With Rosie by my side most of the time, keeping me and this body safe, and working with everyone else here at this temple and so on, I've been pretty much living life, psychically, cosmically, and interdimensionally, monitoring the events of not only the dimension in continued progress with confirmations of the news, tweets, current vids, visions, and meditation, and so on. What? He's saying that he's been experiencing life on Earth psychically, cosmically, through tweets and the news? What? Other than that, we've also been playing Pokemon Go, binging and watching whatever from the iPad, getting out and about as much as possible, and moving about with these legs and all. I continue to personally feel, experience, and witness the genuine progress of everything that all led to me finally getting back to Cwcville in and with this body for the better future of this Omega timeline of ours. So he's been playing Pokemon Go. Okay. Whatever, and watching TV. How does the government of Cwcville operate exactly? The procedures are only ever really hinted at in the comics, so a detailed explanation would be appreciated. Politics. You mentioned politics to Mama in the past. It'd go over her head, although she has had subconscious knowledge and know-how of it all from Christine Shan. And so on with her deity responsibility. I thought Mama was Christine Shan. What? But in Cwcville, it is literally the same as any other city and area throughout the United States in both of our 2 dimensions, but different cities have different kinds of stuff, Chris. That's the one constant between both dimensions. Regardless of which side of the freaking Iron Curtain you are on, the politics remain the same. There are differences between the self-counterparts of some of the elected officials and whatnot, like Trump's self-counterpart, and considerable mental opposite is literally Herbert Garrison from South Park. Yet he touts himself as Trump to keep up the chronicled appearances, like in the show. Okay, so Trump exists in the other dimension, but he's actually Mr. Garrison from South Park. Regardless, Lisa Simpson is set to be the next president of the US in our merged dimensions, or in both dimensions period, however you wish to phrase it, since we'll all be in the same dimension without the freaking Iron Curtain dividing us. But Lisa Simpson's still 8 years old. Oh no, it's awful. How exactly does an original character come into existence? Are there limits to an original character's power? Original characters and fictional characters come into existence by typical normal means of birth, or elaborate as chronicled. We are generally pre-existent for everyone to discover and chronicle about in your dimension, as you all are for us to chronicle in ours. The mutual thing is that depending on the author in either dimension, should we choose to add or alter a detail along the way in chronicling, it literally translates and transitions into that individual who is being chronicled by the direct and original creator, as in part we can be considered to be your original creators as well. Use common sense and mull it over yourselves. It's very much metaphysical and simply meta. No, that doesn't make any sense. None of that makes any sense. It's not common sense. I'm so mad. I hate this. I don't understand. If you could have a sequel to any video game, what would it be? Knuckles Chaotix, a re-release on modern consoles and PC, and a sequel to the original 32X game. Another game Mama would love to see a re-release. That's not the question, it was sequel. Oh, and maybe a sequel. Sonic Shuffle, a sequel to Lollipop Chainsaw for some odd reason also came to mind. The night of September 11th, we get the next Q&A. Christine, are you still a fan of Animal Crossing? Mama still likes Animal Crossing, but she hasn't played the game in a long time. Last one she played was the one on the real estate on 3DS. That's, Happy Home Designer. She has not played Animal Crossing New Horizons. She does not have a copy. I haven't played it yet either. Has Chris played any Zelda games? Chris had played most of the Zelda games. Par with her memory, can't say for sure, but the one she got the farthest in was either Ocarina of Time or Wind Waker. Chris, do you ever find yourself looking back on your life and wishing you'd done anything different throughout the years? If so, what would you change? If not, why not? That's a doozy of a question. She's considered that before. She can't just remove anything to do with the haters and trolls in the past, because that was a major part of her further self-development. Even though she wanted to, she can't. Because that would royally screw up this dimension timeline set as it is. Anything that she would change if she could that would not have too big repercussions on anything. She'd swap the original Sanchi medallion, as well as the second one that fell into the manipulation of Blue Spike, with duplicates, so then the OG one would stay on as the fully upgraded medallion that would be worn today. Chris, what's the best sub-episode of Sonichu? Presently, I'd give 3 answers in no particular order. The entirety of Sonichu 0. Really? And Book 15 that's still in progress, or still in process, which expands on a lot further and beyond, and Night Star's story. So his favorite is 0, 15, which is a retelling of 0, and Night Star's story, which is god-awful. What single drawing panel have you spent the most effort on? And then he posts this. If there's one piece of advice or bit of wisdom you could give your past self, what would it be? And what age would you give that itself to? Chris says that he'd go back to his birthday when he was 18, well, with all of his gal pals there, and he'd say, "Young Christian, you will be most expansive in your mentality and open mind. Also, these gal pals of yours are only hired to help. You can do better than them in genuine friendships." Okay. Sonic's favorite food is chili dogs. What's Sonichu's favorite food? Oh, a question for me for once. I actually enjoy a good fruit or vegetable salad. Processed and cooked meats, chili dogs are included in that, are good, but growing up as a wild Pikachu with protective pair of parents over my developmental early years, fruit is just common, juicy, and good locally in the forest. On the veggie side, though, I'm still allergic to pickles. Not cucumbers, though. Christine, are you getting any of the next-gen consoles? And Chris says, oh, if you mean the PS5 and Xbox S, it should be Xbox X? Mama has not really given that much thought, and I haven't either, considering we'll be in a new timeline free of this pandemic and all that. What's your position on marijuana and tobacco now? Will you still send all the tobacco to the moon? Is it still illegal to possess marijuana in Cwcville? Mama's mentality and feeling on that is not as strict, and she's pretty much letting everyone make their own choices on all of that. Like in the majority of the United States in this dimension, the weed is mainly legal by prescription. Can't go cold turkey on everyone in general, so she won't send that to the moon. Do you have any advice for amateur writers like me who are just getting started? For all amateur writers in general who are just getting started, simply put, take your time, write what you know, feel, and will. Meditation to clear and focus your mind is beneficial, and make sure you are going into your work with genuine passion and love. That's good advice, except for the take your time bit. Absolutely do not take your time. Sit down and force yourself to do something. It doesn't matter if it's good, it doesn't matter if you hate it. Just forcing yourself to write is going to make you a better writer. This is the 7th Q&A on September 15th. Christine, have you kept up with modern US politics? And if so, are you planning on voting? As much as possible and needed for our conscience to know, we know everything else having to do with politics from the wisdom of the cosmos, as well as many a future vision and foresight, so it's a moot point to watch the news constantly, but to see and hear of the events off and on plenty and enough to confirm the path of events being continued onward as it should and will. What? Chris is saying that he doesn't really pay attention to politics unless he's making sure that it's sticking to his vision of the future. Also, Chris's vision is that Lisa Simpson will be the president after Trump, meaning that he shouldn't vote for Biden because then his vision of the future won't happen? Right? I don't understand. Unless he thinks that even if Biden wins before January when he'd be sworn in, the dimensions would merge and Lisa would be president. I think that makes sense. So this is a picture of the Dreaming Studio. It's a little shed that Chris and his father built in their backyard. Dreaming Studio of Mr. C and Little C, where dreams do come true, 1989. Hey Christine, do you know what happened to the Dreaming Studio? I take it you mean the workshop Mr. C. Robert Shue had built in the backyard and worked from more than 3 decades ago. It still stands there, and it's been pretty much used as storage for a lot of things, but it had been cleared out of most of the unnecessary things within the past year. Does Sumo 97 have a dimension-wide police force that you control to enforce your laws in different worlds, like Cybertron and Equestria? That job is mainly set up for amongst the other deities, and police is not the correct term for them. There are individuals with the overpowered level who voluntarily keep tabs and do the work as well, such as those mentioned in the Transformers media, involving the Shattered Glass Dimension and so on. Dear Chris, what is your advice to someone who wants to be internet famous regardless of gender? Internet fame has its hefty prices and whatnot. Also, it falls into the category of wanting to become popular, as that is fickle and transparent as well. But the best sage and sound advice I can offer for someone who wants to go for it: be yourself, do your best, be honest with yourself, make content that genuinely feels right and good with you. You'll need lots of luck and charisma to me amongst the bigwigs of internet fame. Flip side of the coin, you will see a ton of hater comments and email. Simply ignore them. Generally, I would not read the comments, but if you do not take any of them personally or let them hurt your emotion, mentality, and feelings. Take them with a heavy grain of salt. No, oh no, oh no, oh god. Dear Christine, have you considered sexual reassignment surgery? Yes, and this body is going to become fully, genuinely transformed and birthable. Does Chris actually think that if he gets sex surgery that he'd be able to get pregnant? Or is he still talking about magic stuff? Because if he thinks that, he should absolutely not be allowed to get that surgery. Hey Chris, have you watched any other episodes of Pony Life aside from the premiere yet? No comment. Who gave you the idea to get a DNA test? And you said it was the idea, guys. Does a reverse mortgage currently exist in the Chandler house? No. And then that's it. And that was the most recent Q&A. My head's still kind of reeling from that, him thinking he can actually give birth thing if he gets sex reassignment. That's not good. I hope that was just misinterpretation on his part, or my part. Anyway, thanks for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at GiBi_Devin. Make sure that you subscribe so that you can see more of these videos as they come out. I'm still working on Chris Chan's 4 short stories series. And other stuff's also in the work.